If this war drags on, Britain probably doesn't wake up tomorrow to sirens, tanks and soldiers on every street. What it could wake up to is something slower, quieter and in some ways more dangerous for normal families. Tighter budgets, pricier fuel, more expensive food, pressure to cut travel, pressure to stay home more. And a country that starts feeling restricted without anyone officially calling it a lockdown. Welcome back to Charlie Survival. Before we get into it, comment where you're watching this from. City, town, coast or countryside. And subscribe if you want calm, practical UK preparedness without the nonsense. Now, let me be clear right at the start because this matters. As of today, the UK government says there's no current assessment that mainland Britain is being targeted by Iran. So this video is not me telling you missiles are about to land in your street tonight, but that does not mean Britain is safe from the effects of this war. Starmer has already called emergency meetings over the economic fallout, energy security and the broader pressure this conflict could put on British households. And that is the real story because Britain doesn't need to be directly attacked to feel this. If energy routes are disrupted, if tanker traffic is squeezed, if global prices jump, if shipping gets more expensive, if markets panic, then ordinary life here starts changing fast. The leaders of the UK, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands and Japan have already issued a joint statement demanding Iran stop threats and attempts to block the Strait of Hormuz, because that route is crucial to global energy flows. So in this video I want to walk through 5 things: how this hits fuel first, how it spreads into food and household cost, how Britain could start feeling soft restrictions without calling them that, how panic makes everything worse, and what a normal UK household should do without going overboard. Because that is a trap most people fall into. They hear war and they imagine one giant dramatic moment, but that's rarely how it reaches everyday life. It comes through friction, it comes through costs, it comes through delays, it comes through subtle pressure. And by the time people realise normal life has changed, they're already reacting late. The first place this hits is the pumps. Even though Britain gets a lot of its crude from the US and Norway, official UK data says those two sources made up about 2/3 of crude imports in 2024. We still live in a global market. That means even if the oil isn't physically coming from Iran, Britain still gets slammed by higher global prices, shipping disruption, insurance cost, refinery stress and market fear. The government's own fuel emergency planning already exists for exactly this kind of major supply disruption. That's why this matters to you even if you never think about foreign policy. You're not buying Middle East oil. You're buying into a global pricing system. So when the Strait of Hormuz is under pressure, Britain feels it at the forecourt. We've already seen the war rattle oil markets hard enough that the governments and the International Energy Agency are discussing more emergency stock releases. Reuters reported Brent crude was still above $100 a barrel even after Trump paused planning strikes on Iranian power plants for 5 days. That tells you how fragile this really is, and once fuel gets hit, everything else starts leaning in the wrong way. Because diesel doesn't just move cars, diesel moves food, it moves parcels, it moves shelves, it moves farm inputs, it moves everything. So when transport gets more expensive, your weekly shop starts taking the hit next. Reuters has already reported that this war is pushing fertilizer costs too, with the Strait of Hormuz handling a huge share of global fertilizer trade. This means this is not just a petrol story, it's a food price story as well. This is where people get caught out. They think, well, I've got half a tank, I'm fine. But the real danger is the chain reaction. If the fuel jumps, delivery costs more. If deliveries cost more, food prices rise. If fertilizer gets squeezed, farming gets hit. If inflation kicks again, your mortgage, your bills, your basic breathing room all starts tightening at once. And Britain is already in a vulnerable position for that kind of squeeze. The Bank of England held rates at 3.75% last week, but warned inflation could rise in the next 2 quarters if the energy shock persists. At the same time, Ofgem's cap is due to fall from 1st of April to 30th of June to £1,641 for a typical household, paying by direct debit. But that relief can disappear quickly if this conflict drags on and reignites another energy spike. Now here's where the video gets uncomfortable, because I don't think the biggest risk is a dramatic official lockdown. I think the bigger risk is something softer and more believable, a slow tightening of normal life that feels restrictive without using the word. The International Energy Agency has already floated the kind of measures governments can use when oil prices surge: work from home more, lower highway speed limits, reduce non-essential travel. Avoid air travel where possible. Reuters also reported the UK's contingency thinking includes measures like lower speed limits, and the official National Emergency Plan for Fuel gives the government a menu of emergency responses if supply is badly disrupted. Now, pause there for a second. I'm not saying Britain is announcing all of that tomorrow. I'm saying the conversation has already moved into that territory. That's important, because once the public accepts that fuel must be managed, all sorts of things can be framed as sensible, temporary, emergency steps. Drive a little slower, travel a little less, stay local, work from home, cut demand, conserve, limit, reduce. None of that sounds dramatic on its own, but stack enough of it together and daily life starts to feel smaller. And before anyone says that sounds far-fetched, look at what is already happening elsewhere. Reuters reported that Sri Lanka has tightened fuel rationing, cut transport, and made every Wednesday a public holiday, shutting schools, universities, and government offices to conserve fuel. That is exactly why I'm making this video. What sounds ridiculous at the start of an energy shock can become normal very quickly when pressure builds. The next danger is panic, because governments love to talk about supply, but the public creates shortages faster than supply problems do. 1,000 people hearing that might be an issue can do more danger in 48 hours than the actual disruption did in the first place. We saw that with fuel before, we saw that with supermarket shelves before, we saw it with toilet roll, medicines, batteries, all of it. The moment people think they may lose access, they stop shopping normally and start overbuying. Then the shortages become real. So the smart move is not panic, it's quiet, boring, early preparation. That means your household should not be trying to become a bunker, it should be trying to become stable. 2 weeks of food you actually eat, water covered, torches covered, basic power covered, enough medication on hand, a bit more cash than usual, phones charged, vehicles sensibly fueled, power banks topped up. And by the way, if you want the exact basics and gear I recommend, my Charlie Survival Amazon kit list is linked in the description. Go through it calmly, pick off the practical bits and build your kits properly instead of panic buying random rubbish. And also, by the time this video goes live, my UK Crisis Readiness System course is live as well. So if you want the full plan behind all of this, not just the warnings, not just the headlines, but the actual step-by-step systems for preparing your home and family in Britain, you can find that in the pinned comment. Now, here's the part most people don't want to hear. You do not prepare for this by obsessing over the most extreme scenario. You prepare for this by getting very serious about ordinary discomfort, because that's how this arrives for most people. A bit less travel, a bit more cost, a bit more waiting, a bit more uncertainty, a bit more friction every week. This is how people get worn down, not by one massive event, but by the consistent drip of inconveniences and pressure. And that matters even more in Britain because our system looks stronger than it feels. The shelves look full right up until they don't. The pumps look normal right up until queues form. The roads feel open right up until people start changing behaviour together. We are very dependent on flow. Flow on fuel, flow on goods, flow on deliveries, flow on confidence. And when confidence goes, behaviour changes fast. That is why I think this story matters more than the headline missile panic. Yes, there have been headlines over the weekend about Iranian missile range and Diego Garcia, but again, the UK government's current position that there is no evidence Iran is targeting mainland Britain right now. So the better question for more families isn't, will a missile hit my town? The better question is, what happens to my life if that war keeps squeezing fuel, food, inflation and travel? That is the real UK question. So what should you do this week? Top up your pantry, but don't empty shelves. Keep your car above the halfway mark if you can. Get backup lighting sorted. Get a way to charge your phone when the power's out. Think through how you'd handle 72 hours of disruption without leaving the house. And most importantly, stop treating preparedness like a hobby for weirdos and start treating it like a normal adult responsibility. Because if this eases, brilliant, you've lost nothing. You've got a better stocked house, a clearer head, and a bit more resilience. But if it doesn't ease and Britain starts sliding into one of those strange periods where life feels tighter, pricier, and less stable by the week, you'll be glad you moved before everyone else did. That's the whole point of this channel, calm, practical readiness before the rush. So no, I'm not telling you the UK is going into lockdown. I'm telling you something more useful than that. I'm telling you that this war could make everyday life in Britain feel a lot more restricted, a lot more expensive and a lot more fragile than most people realise. And the smart households will prepare for that now, quietly before the crowd catches on. If you want the full step-by-step system, my UK Crisis Readiness course is now live. You can find that in the pinned comment. If you found this helpful, smash like, hype and subscribe. And comment down below how many days you could go if the shop shut tonight. If you want the gear and basics I recommend, check out the Charlie Survival Amazon kit list in the description. Now, if you found this video helpful, click this one on screen now about 8 things to do in the first hour if war reaches your city tonight. Click it and I'll catch you over there.